Illiteracy is something almost assumed of the lower classes through history. Well, anyone not in the highest of the high classes anyway. People repeatedly spit out figures like that in the 1640s only 30% of England was literate overall, but that the number was higher in London. However, these are not really reliable. I'm not saying they're completely wrong, but the reality is a lot more interesting and complicated than these numbers tell us. Firstly, how did we get these numbers? These numbers are based on seeing how many people were able to sign their name on legal and church documents. Those who marked the line with an X or another symbol were counted as illiterate. So from this, it's estimated 2/3 of men and 9/10 of women in the 1640s could not write their name and were therefore illiterate. But writing is only one part of literacy. In the 17th century, more people could read than could write. Today we're taught to read and write at the same time, but in the 17th century, people were taught to read first, separately. But why was reading considered more important of a skill than writing? This is mainly to do with religion. After the 16th century Reformation that turned England from Catholic to Protestant, reading was seen as much more of a necessity for your soul. A key part of Protestant worship is being able to read the word yourself. So it was much more likely that people in England were being taught to read, even if not formally, if they had access to someone who could, like a neighbour, for example. In formal education in schools, people were therefore taught to read first to access the Bible. Writing was taught later, which sometimes meant the kids of people like middling class tradesmen might have been pulled out of school to learn their craft before they learned to write. You may think then, why don't we try to use school records to gauge the difference between full literacy and those who could read but not write? But as we said, there's no guarantee that everyone who could read was taught at school, especially women and girls who were not allowed to go to school. It was thought women had a natural weakness that meant they just could not physically learn as much as men. So people just didn't bother beyond what they wanted women to know, like household skills and Bible study. Also remember, just because someone couldn't read for themselves doesn't mean they wouldn't know someone who could and could therefore be read to, which was much more common, sort of like an audiobook today. So you see why it's a way more complex picture than our original figures suggest. But to be honest, as reading leaves no physical evidence behind, which is all we have to work with, it's kind of the best we've got right now. This is just to say, to remember that next time you watch a historical show or movie where everyone not dressed up in the poshest frock is completely clueless when an announcement is posted in the town square, that it was just not that simple.